Hello there and welcome back to the channel and another Andromeda themed episode. And this time we're looking at Trance Gemini, the mysterious little purple girl from the first season through to the last and all of her many changes. Just who and what is she? Before we get started, if you like this video and any others on this channel, please like, share, subscribe, and comment down below. Maybe hit the bell notification icon if you really enjoy it and think the video is worth it to get more of my content in the future. Also, I should point out, linked down below are various other channels that I have, which include Nerd World Films, Nerd World History, and a new one, Nerd World Order, that are all linked down below. If you like this video, maybe check them out as well. They're all on a variety of different subjects and genres, and I hope you enjoy them. Also, just to point out, this video is brought to you in collaboration with the Beard Struggle, who we will get to later on in this video. With all that said, let's get straight into it. Trance Gemini was a humanoid purple-skinned alien with a long, very flexible tail and pleasant demeanor, serving as ship's medic both aboard the Eureka Maru and the Andromeda Ascendant, or at least doubling as it. She wasn't dedicatedly a doctor or physician, but she did have great insight, almost bordering on clairvoyance. At least that's what people believed in the early days, but no one really knew where she came from. They knew her name, but they never knew her species. She always was very artful, or just blatantly would not answer any direct questions about who and what she was, where she came from, anything like that. She also had a complete inability, at least seemingly, to navigate slipstream, meaning she never worked as pilot unless it was a complete disaster. But it's unknown whether or not that was an intentional thing, as the only time we ever see her do it was one time when she navigates the slipstream and accidentally sends the Andromeda back in time 300 years. But this could have been an intentional act rather than an accidental one. But she always protests that she's not really cut out for it. It could be unique to her or part of her species. Now, later in the second season of Andromeda, she would undergo a significant change, or sort of. During a crossover event where time was all messed up, they would encounter a future version of Trance who would tell the past version that their plan had been ruined, everything had gone wrong, she made a lot of mistakes, and the two swapped places so the future version could try and steer things away from the disaster of that future where the Nietzscheans had become a great empire and the Magog had invaded, blah blah blah, and things were all terrible. Now, other than that, generally it was quite little before we realised who and what she was. She had very unusual abilities that occasionally she would demonstrate. She didn't seem to be alive or dead as it was described, only ever answering when asked that question directly by Captain Hunt was yes. She seemed to be, in theory, incapable of being killed, although she was capable of experiencing pain. When someone stepped on her tail, for example, and when it was shot off, she found this to be very painful. It was the only really soft spot of her body, seemingly. The rest of her didn't seem to really be bothered by pain, particularly. Now, not going through every storyline thread that she would have throughout the show. So later we learn, what is she? Trance is from a sort of trans-dimensional race of beings who know themselves as the Nebula. The Nebula, both a reference to them as a whole and individually, were a collection of effectively avatars, living representations of space bodies, planets, stars, moons, whatever. They were almost beyond eternal, ancient. When one of them died, a star would collapse, it would explode. They were the living embodiment of the universe, and their powers were linked to it. As a result, they were enormously powerful, particularly in their ability to see the future. Their race had an ability to see potential outcomes, literally millions of different variations of what is about to happen in a moment. They can experience several different outcomes from a singular choice and then pick which one is the best one to achieve their goals. The only ones that can really oppose them in this are another one of their own kind, as seen when Trance aboard the Andromeda versus another one of her people working with the Pyrians. And the two sides were pretty evenly matched militarily anyway, and the only real advantages each side got was the fact that both had this clairvoyant, basically Andromeda Jedi, telling them what the future was going to be. Now, other than that, Trance as a person, as I said, was unlike the rest of her people. The rest of her people They wanted the greater good, but for them the greater good did not matter about individual life forms. They were beneath them. The universe itself is what mattered. The races that lived within it were transitory. They came and they went. They wanted to see the universe made better, but they didn't care at what price. Trance wanted to save lives from the Magog and from any other dangers that were out there by rebuilding the Commonwealth and restoring peace and stability to the galaxy. And that's how she saw it. She saw that as a better outcome than a Nietzschean-ruled galaxy. The rest of her people were really indifferent to who was in charge or who was doing what, where, and when within the galaxy. In fact, they would pick sides, but they would pick the militarily strongest side, as oppression, slavery, and all that stuff really meant nothing to them, as they themselves were so far beyond it, these lower races couldn't touch them. But as they were linked to the wider universe, it being destroyed, like entire stars and planets being consumed like the Magog would do, that was not good for them. So they did want to see the Magog destroyed, and although they were themselves physically beyond the touch of such races, they weren't able equally to just attack them themselves. They weren't a power that could be used directly. So although they were powerful themselves, they couldn't project that power effectively. They could only use it to best sort of guide others in the direction, use other people as the gun effectively. So again, we come back to exactly what was Trance. Trance was the living avatar of the star of the home system of the Tarn Veterans, one of the oldest and most powerful races in the galaxy, and a species thought to be extinct. Her star had become the Sephira star, or it would eventually become the star of the Sephira system. The Sephira system was the future name of the Tarn Veteran home system, or what used to be their home system. Now, throughout the series, throughout the show, we always saw Trance be sort of the light and heart of the show, always very almost innocent, but she did occasionally display a dark side, as she did have a ruthless streak in her. Particularly we see it in the sort of harder future version of her, who had lived a very different life and had seen darkness and had seen her plans fail and seen the death and destruction of her friends and whole worlds, and it had changed her somewhat. She came back in time a little harder, more aggressive and more focused than her younger self had been. What exactly happened to the younger self is unknown. It's also not clear why they changed appearance. It is known that the avatars are able to adopt other appearances. They don't all have to look in the way Trance does. It's also not entirely clear if they have to be male or female or get to choose. It's simply unknown. It's not known whether they're created that way, if they are, because we do encounter male avatars, but we don't. A lot of the others, at some points we see them all look like Trance, and others sometimes look different. So, but they do have a similar appearance, but they seem to again be able to choose it. Trance was the only one we ever saw purple, but we did hear others of them being described as purple, and we hear another male one being described as sort of an almost Loki-like character up to mischief. Just because he was bored, he caused a civil war, because he was bored. Trance was very different to the rest of her people and tried to distance herself from them as a result of this. Now, she made it all the way from Season 1 all the way to the end of Season 4, and was a very important and integral member of the group, and always one of the biggest supporters of the Andromeda and Captain Hunt and his mission. This is again partially self-motivated, but everyone has a selfish reason to want the galaxy to be peaceful and stable. No one wants war unless you're the Magog, in which case you thrive in it. So again, before we go any further, let's just talk about my sponsor, the Beard Struggle, who helped me develop such a luscious and quite full and nice beard right now. If you too want to grow a beard, if you're thinking about it, it would be well worth clicking on the link below and following to their website. You will get a 15% discount by following that link and signing up, and 15% discount off your first purchases. What they sell, a variety of different products, from beard care through to beard maintenance, everything from oils and other sort of washes through to a beard straightener that I bought that is really nice, as well as a lovely little, again, forget the name of it, little spiny thing that you roll on your face and it helps your beard grow a little thicker. Wonderful thing. Now again, if you want your beard to be glorious, or you think it's already glorious but could be more glorious, visit the Beard Struggle. Highly recommend them. It's done wonders for mine, as mine just generally puffs out and looks ridiculous if I don't tend to it almost daily preening of this thing. But anyway, that said, link below, 15% discount for following it, and back to the video. some of the more notable events that happened in Trance Gemini's life aboard the Andromeda varied. Now, one of them was particularly interesting, where she was captured on a planet, interrogated, because they believed that she was basically the destroyer of worlds. Now, I mentioned before there was another one of her kind mentioned. This is where that happened. They mentioned that they'd seen one of her kind before, and when he came there, they took him in. They thought he was innocent. They thought he was really nice, and everyone was enamored with him. Became something of a celebrity. But in reality, he steered their race towards civil war and destruction. That was a key episode, because it was the first time you hear of her, any others of her kind, and you see that Trance is more than what she seems. She's able to unlock cuffs just by thinking about it. She's out of the chair. She can't experience pain. And basically she laughs off the fact that these torturers are trying to torture her and interrogate her because she finds it ridiculous. It's this moment, it's not as though more to her, but perhaps she's not the good guy. It was a bit misleading, but it was cool. Another key event is when you again encounter another avatar, this time the avatar of a moon, who she previously knew and was possibly in a relationship with. It was hinted at, but the two of them deeply cared for one another. And he was the avatar, I said, of a moon, not of a star like Trance. And again, key event. Now the biggest story for her really comes in season 4 in the Sephra system. Trance basically blew herself up. She can become a mini star when she wants to, and she was used as a weapon to defeat the Magog. All well and good, blew up the Magog world ship. Spoilers if you've not seen Andromeda. Anyway, I'll try and remember to put a spoiler sign up before I get into that bit of a tangent now. This leaves her something of a wiped of memory, doesn't know who she is, and has to kind of start to remember over time, as basically she lost a lot of mass, and in losing that mass she lost some of her memory. It would eventually come back, of course, but throughout the season you see a slow burn arc of her restoring herself, and also imitating a radio DJ. Strange season 4. It's not the best. Anyway, so there is Trance Gemini, the lovable purple/red girl avatar, celestial being, demigod of the Andromeda Ascendant. And that brings us to the end of the video. If you made it all the way to the end of the video, thank you for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment down below. Tell me, where do you sit with Trance? Did you like her? Did you hate her? I think the actress Laura Bertram is beautiful. That played her and was a lot of fun to watch on the screen. She wasn't necessarily always my favourite character, but the more you unraveled the mystery of her and actually got to know something of what they were planning to do with her, she became more interesting in the early days. She was a little dull, but yeah, a slow burn character for sure, but certainly a necessary one within the show, and she helped build up the sort of more mythical aspect of the show, and kept a little mystery going in the later seasons when it wasn't at its best. With all that said, bye bye.